favor, who knows? But I'm not allowed to talk. I'm gagged. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's all coming out. It's weaponization.
Nobody's ever heard of it. I hate how funny he is. He's so goddamn naturally gifted in just being hilarious. I got a gag order, first time. No one's ever seen it before. No one's ever been gagged. I'm gagged. Totally gagged.
Is in the building, and the former president getting a standing ovation from the assembled masses here at UFC 302.
I cannot think of anything more American. You know, the criminal president, right off the heels of it. It's like, all right, now to go to a massive sporting event, get fucking Kid Rock blasting on the speakers, and, you know, get everyone cheering. Yeah, convicted felon. Like, what the fuck ever happened to the Law and Order crowd? I thought, like, if this is a pro-Trump MAGA, this is the Blue Line Matters crowd, right? This is fucking Law and Order, you know, protect our troops, support our police, all that kind of shit. And boom, it's like, yeah, so this guy's now convicted felon. Hell yeah!
Well, you had a sneaking suspicion.
The fighters were bowing down to him. Bowing? What? My queen!
That former President Trump would be in the building for UFC 302. He is a rabid mixed martial arts fan. I kind of feel like he's betting on these fights when he's not actually here.
Yeah, you know what sucks is, like, so am I. Who doesn't like fucking watching, you know, live sporting events? So, like, I understand why. Like, I'm not an anti-UFC person by any means. Like, it can be very entertaining, right? But, like, it just sucks that, like, it seems to have attracted a more and more right-wing crowd. Whereas there's other big sporting events, for example, like wrestling. I had no idea some wrestling leagues, they're super woke. They're very, very progressive. They're all about trans rights. They're all about inclusivity, that kind of shit.
The round of applause he's getting right now is pretty staggering, and you had to imagine that's what was going to happen.
If you don't believe he'll be indicted on all 34 charges, look up Trump Rule 34. Never. Never. I'm never doing that. And none of you should either. Don't do that. It will hurt your eyes. It'll burn them forever. None of it was for the campaign money. It was all from the Trump organization. But it was framed that the money that Cohen had paid counted as a kind of campaign donation, which exceeded the maximum amount for a donation. The crime was that the Trump org lied about what the payments to Cohen were for. Thank you for clearing that up, Jake.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, is that Joe Rogan? Of course it's Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan's like the UFC commentator host. He wears many hats, too, essentially. But yes, he can podcast and he can do UFC matches. But fucking unbiased, what? So, Joe Rogan is supposed to be the enlightened centrist of all enlightened centrists, right? Like, this is libertarianism brain in full effect. Then boom, as soon as he sees him, thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Yes, you are also my hero.
Donald Trump with
Ridiculous. So anyways...
As we continue our coverage of Donald Trump's guilty verdict in its New York criminal trial, it's important to keep emphasizing the historic, unprecedented moment our country is in. Never before has a former American president been indicted and convicted in a criminal.
You can legally do hush money, you just can't lie about it. So that's it. So that's where the crime comes in. You can do the hush money, you just can't lie about it. I mean,
precedent for what we are witnessing. But how does this compare to other destabilizing moments in our history?
Well, I think the choice is actually pretty clear. You know, we've got a convicted felon, but, you know, in days of yore, if a convicted felon had run, let's say, for alderman, which was probably about as high as he or she would have aspired until the last couple of decades, that person would have said, I served my time, I learned my lesson, I have remorse. There's going to be no one more zealous than I am in enforcing our legal system. Instead, you know, you and I saw that rant at the bottom of the brass elevator in Trump Tower yesterday by the presumed Republican nominee of this year. And he's saying the system is rotten. I want to dismantle parts of the Constitution. I think that people should not respect the law. And so when you've got someone who is promising at the same time to be dictator for a day, and it'll never be for a day, as you know, it'll be for 4 years, if not for his lifetime, if that begins. At the same time as he's saying, I'm going to dismantle our rule of law, which is the glory of America, keeps the peace.
The glory of
assures
America.
fairness
Wow.
when it works.
That's too bad.
For all Americans. You've got dictatorship and anarchy at the same time.
What a wild statement to make. And this is coming from MSNBC too. These are people who don't like Trump, but to be like, yeah, so the glory of our country is essentially the rule of law, and the fact that the rule of law is equal for all Americans. No, it's fucking not. What? Well, what a ridiculous statement.
Do you, Jonathan, think that a majority of Americans is going to vote for dictatorship and anarchy in November? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't.
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think the people who are going to vote for Donald Trump don't care about any of the words coming out of your mouth. They're not going to be A, listening to you, and B, care about a single fucking thing you have to say. In addition to that, what is necessary to happen is that people have to come out for Biden. It's less about like what Trump's going to get the votes Trump's going to get. Is Biden going to get the votes that Biden was supposed to get prior to, again, the ongoing genocide of Palestine? It's not looking that way. That's looking very, very bad. Yes, keep wording this. Keep doing this thing where it's like, we just got to remind everybody. I don't know if you've heard this. I might be the first who's ever said this out loud, but Orange Man bad. He's bad. He's not good. He's an orange man. He's quite orange, and he's also bad. So yeah, voters, Americans are gonna have to decide that when it comes down to it. Will they know that Orange Man is in fact bad? And I think at this point, yes. Yes, it's safe to say they're going to know this.
I don't think so either, but however, we have seen some things, Michael, these last few years.
We have seen things we never expected.
Right. So the Founding Fathers seemed to have prepared for every threat to the Republic that they created, but they didn't appear to have a convicted felon running for president on their bingo card. Would they be appalled by what happened on...
Well, see, this is the thing. Like, I've learned through this process that, like, right-wingers don't actually have any beliefs whatsoever. They just want to win. That's it, right? And I mean, the same can be said about a lot of different political ideologies, but when it comes down to, like, a group that has said specifically, we are about the rule of law, we are about supporting our fucking cops, we are about fucking, the blue line, we like, all this kind of shit. And then it's like, hey, by the way, Donald Trump's a criminal. It's like, fucking badass. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. His mugshot, that shit's metal. Yeah. Yeah, he's fucking hell yeah. Yeah, he doesn't give two fucks. They were even getting racist too. There was like a lot of right-wing pundits who were like, well, now black people will identify with him, because they know what it's like. They know what it's like to not like to be treated well by the justice system. So now they got Trump with the mugshot and that shit. This is going to play really well. And you're like, what the fuck? So you believe in nothing, just winning.
On Thursday,
you just they only want liberal tears. That's it. Liberal tears, leftist tears, you name it. That's all they care about.
Former president, current candidate for president, being convicted on felony charges by a jury of his peers?
Most of the founders would cry if they saw what Donald Trump has been accused of and now convicted of, 34 felonies.
They would cry, would they? I don't know if they'd understand what's going on, to be completely honest with you.
Because they assumed when the Constitution was written, and you and I know these founders were by no means perfect people.
Flawed.
But they thought that they had established
Flawed, I mean, slave-owning rapists, that's kind of, the flawed is one way of putting it.
A system that would keep convicted criminals out of the presidency. They assumed that anyone who ran for president would have the decency and the love of country and the knowledge of how hard it was to achieve our independence, that there would only be people of good character, like George Washington. And the other thing that they thought they had done was establish a
Is this dude high on his own shit right now? Like, what is going on?
system.
This is so ridiculous.
Decentralized voting by states, other things.
Heroes.
As well as an American public that would not willingly vote for a convicted criminal to be their president. They thought that was so unlikely. You can read the record of the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. There's not one word about what should we put in the Constitution to make sure that no convicted criminal becomes president. That's how far this country, sadly, has come.
Oh, he definitely has a shrine to the Founding Fathers. No question. No question. He's into some weird-ass cult shit.
But I don't think a convicted criminal is going to be elected this fall.
And we've got less than a minute left, Michael. But what can Americans do to ensure that we get...
It just sounds like over and over, like, liberals, don't do this. You are going to do this to your detriment. Do you remember after Donald Trump got elected, how much energy and time was like focused on the Russian collusion and you know the Mueller report and you know the blue waves coming and we're gonna get rid of them? It's like, what happened to all that? You know, like this very idea that like, don't think Americans are going to stand for a potential criminal president. I don't see that happening, and I think it's over for Donald Trump. You know, I think things are solid now.
Through this with our Republic intact, especially because there are fears.
Yeah, but that was funny. I'm glad you spoke. All right, so let's hear it from the man himself.
Well, look, you know, I'm fighting for the Constitution. I'm fighting for the same thing that you three. I watch you all the time, and same thing that you do. You fight for freedom. You fight for your country. These people are sick. They're sick. They're deranged.
I think this like interview needed more people interviewing Trump. But why not a fourth person? Why not a fifth? You know, just have a whole row of people standing there being like, whatever you say. Yes, you are correct. We are fighting for freedom every day as we get our paychecks at this very high-paying media job, but also liberating the world. Yeah.
The Constitution, I'm fighting easily, actually. We have a lot of advantages. But the enemy from within, they are doing damage to this country. They want open...
The enemy from within? Are you talking about your penis? Because that's what this was about at the end of the day. This doesn't come from fucking Joe Biden. There's no conspiracy here.
Borders, they want high interest rates. They now want to quadruple your taxes. Quadruple. You know, all my life I watched politics, and it was always like, politicians want to lower taxes, not quadruple them. There's a whole sickness going on right now. So we're doing really well. It was a tough venue. We tried to get out of the venue. We tried to get out of the judge, but we tried to get out of both. Wouldn't even think about it. So we had probably maybe the worst area in the whole country for me, you know, in terms of vote. I'm sure if I sat down and explained it to that section of the world, we could probably make progress. But one of the worst sections, and they always bring them in these sections, you know, D.C., there, places where Republicans, not just me, Republicans get like virtually no votes. But the good news is that I think we've set a record beyond all records for fundraising. That's like a poll. And another one just came.
Just endless nonsensical rambling and gibberish, and then just heads nodding. Indeed. Indeed. Oh, he's done talking? Do you want to talk more? Okay, yeah, no, keep talking. Hey, this is just, it's your platform, sir. We're just here to bask in the glory of your presence.
Just before I got in, that we're 6 points higher than we were before. So I don't know if that holds up. I mean, I'm just not sure, but people get it. It's a scam. And the Republican Party is really, they've stuck. They stick together in this. They see it's weaponization of the Justice Department, of the FBI. And, you know, that's all coming out of Washington. You may think it's brag. Take a look at who opened the case. I'm not allowed to talk about it because I have a gag order. I'm probably, I guess, the first presidential nominee and the leading...
The leader here. He was given so many gag orders too. I was like, the fact that gag orders exist and in this framework, he's the perfect person to never be able to follow them. And then like, it's basically going to put that big old crisis on the judge's shoulders. It's like, I have a tool I can use against this man. It's called a gag order. So he's still talking shit. Okay, well, I will apply a more severe gag order now. Yeah, he's talking shit about that one too. Now he's calling out your wife and she's saying that she's ugly or some shit. And now he's saying that he's like, you know, gonna fuck her and like, yeah, so that didn't work, sir. What else do you got? Have we tried another gag order? A third, in fact.
Joe by a lot that's not allowed to talk. Maybe they're doing me a big favor, who knows? But I'm not allowed to talk. I'm gagged. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's all coming out. It's weaponization.
Nobody's ever heard of it. I hate how funny he is. He's so goddamn naturally gifted in just being hilarious. I got a gag order, first time. No one's ever seen it before. No one's ever been gagged. I'm gagged. Totally gagged. Can't talk. Yeah.
And in those countries, people are imprisoned. You know, instead of going to the ballot box and fighting there,
And see, here's the thing. This is why that liberal in that last segment, why he was so fucking delulu. Because at the end of the day, this is what the MAGA voters and the Trump voters believe. And this is what they're going to continue to believe. That there's some massive conspiracy similar to, you know, what they consider to be like dystopian and corrupt governments where all of a sudden politicians are being exiled and shit like that. That's what they're selling this as. When this is all about his cock, you know? But like, they don't know this. They just sit there like, yeah, it's a conspiracy from the highest levels. This is coming down. Fucking Brandon's trying to get him removed, right? And then they'll believe this shit.
They're on house arrest. They're told they can't run for office. What is your message? And by the way, I think a lot of his...
This is what the CIA does to other countries. This isn't supposed to happen here. Exactly. Yes. There can be coups. There can be the removal of a president for a variety of reasons, but that's usually with the United States involvement somewhat.
Hispanic Americans, I hear from them. They're scared about what they see. What's your message to them about what happened to you and about how scared they are that our country is turning into the countries that they left behind, the corrupt, dysfunctional countries they left behind?
And they are scared, and they're great people, and very entrepreneurial, great energy. And as you know, I'm doing very well with them. I mean, beyond anybody, I don't think anybody's ever had polling.
Look at my Hispanic over there. Yeah, they love me.
A little bit?
I think a little bit. And they've always liked me, and I've always liked them. You know, I've done well from the beginning. In 2016, I won the entire border along Texas, and they're all like 85%. And it's been great from the beginning, and now I'm leading. I think I'm leading over this guy that can't put two sentences together, that's destroying our country. Look, he's the worst president in the history of this country, and he's a danger to the country.
Wow. So I guess in this case, this is a situation where Obama's no longer the worst president. Because that's what he used to say all the time, right? The worst president in my lifetime, the worst president that's ever happened. He's the worst president in this country. He's destroyed this country. I'm the only one who could make it great again.
And you know, they have misinformation. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. It's just words. He doesn't even know what it means. But it's like their slogan, I'm a threat to democracy. I'm the opposite. They're the threat to democracy.
Mr. President, I want to return to the verdict, and I want to explore something you've said several times already in the conversation.
It's also kind of wild he's saying that, and this is happening on Fox and Friends, because, like, you know, after Fox for a long time, they were kind of realizing, you know, the very, very expensive litigious and legal complications from them trying to promote his lie that the election was stolen, and doing so, you know, to their own detriment. Well, he finally got to a point now where he started turning on Fox. Fox wasn't right-wing enough. Then it was like, yeah, Fox are scum, you know, they're secret liberals, and then I basically only trust like Newsmax, you know, and the more extreme outlets, Breitbart.
You've referenced
but he's back.
People. I'm sure you've seen the video of Joe Biden when he was asked about the verdict, and he gave sort of a smirk to the camera.
Terrible. Remember, Bragg didn't want to do the case. He came out. He said, there's no case, and how can you have a witness like so-and-so? I'm not allowed to mention the name. Can you believe this?
Not allowed to mention the name.
This guy's allowed to have shows, television shows.
I'm so
not
gagged.
allowed to mention the name. It's so unfair.
They put me in a suit.
You know, you have to
wear a mask.
You have to really play the hand that you're dealt. And then you had a jury that was, you know, from a certain persuasion. Would have been hard to do no matter what.
So what do you think he means there? I mean, there's just so many ways it could go, right? When it's Trump, is he being racist? Is he being sexist? Is he maybe being homophobic? Well, I mean, we'll never know, right? But of a certain persuasion, yes.
But I did absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, absolutely. Think of it. You know, I hate when they say a bookkeeping, this and that. It's not. It's called, think of it, expense. I use the word expense. Legal expense.
Yeah.
I pay a lawyer. He wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer at the time. I pay a lawyer.
But then did you lie about it? Because I think, yeah, as we were discussing before, you know, I had a whole bunch of lawyers in the chats. Thanks, by the way, to all of the amateur lawyers who knew a lot about this. It seems like that was the problem, right? You had sex. You're real horny. You just had to have yourself a little time. And then afterwards, you wanted to pay off the person whom you had sex with. You did it through your lawyer, which again, technically, apparently, all legal still. That's fine. And then he did move some potential campaign contributions in order to facilitate that payment. And then ultimately, you lied about where that money was going to and what it was for. Then, hence the crime.
Lawyer. It's called legal expense. A bookkeeper, without ever speaking to me, because she did the right thing, who's been with me for years, marks it down as legal expense. In other words, I paid a legal expense. It's marked down as a legal expense. And they say that's a fraud. What am I going to call it? Did you ever see a ledger? Do you ever study accounting?
It's not a really sexy euphemism. I mean, of all of them, you know, hey, baby, do you want to have a legal expense? I could have legal expenses all night. Why don't you come over and I'll expense some legal all over you.
The line's like about an inch long and 1/8 of an inch wide. You can't write the story, but there is no story. If you pay a legal expense and you write it down as a legal expense, and then they indict you and they go to
It's also hilarious. This is not what his lawyers argued in court, like, at all. I know. I'm genuinely curious, just because, like, Trump is such an example of someone who gets away with basically anything he wants, right? I mean, we've got everything here: straight, white, rich, male, cis. The man has every privilege possible, right? And then he's gotten away with so much shit his entire fucking life, including multiple bankruptcies, and then still sells the idea that he's some kind of like amazing businessman and titan of industry and all this kind of shit. And so I don't expect him to face consequences for his actions. Would a lawyer tell him, by the way, if you're going on Fox and Friends, maybe not tell a completely different story that we represented to you in court? Maybe not every 2 seconds talk about your gag order and you know, use it to like kind of mock the judge and the legal process itself?
a grand jury, and they don't use Bob Casella's testimony. You know, they use almost none of it. They didn't want him before the grand jury because he's very persuasive. This judge didn't want him to talk. They shouldn't have allowed certain people to testify.
Oh.
It was totally wrong that they did that.
I don't think you get to decide that, though, right? I don't think that's in your purview. You're not the one who's like, well, I don't want this witness. Why? He knows what my penis looks like. I would prefer the woman who has seen my penis to not speak on the record in court, please. Yeah, you should not allow her to speak.
So everyone tells me this is the easiest case they've ever seen to overturn, but they don't care because they want to last till after the election. Now, the only problem they have is that so far my poll numbers have gone up. You explain this to me because I don't. Pete maybe can explain it. Maybe Will. I don't know. Maybe Will can. They're smart in Texas, right? But the poll numbers have gone up substantially. I don't know if that's good.
See, like right there, that's the kind of shit that the right's going to believe. The idea that it's like, hey, by the way, you know, this is happening. They're trying everything they can. They're trying to swing the election by taking me out, you know, through all of these corrupt court cases, and yet it's just not working. You know, their corruption's not working.
Going to remain that way.
You changed your tone at some point during the trial. I would say maybe a bit more hopeful in the beginning, and then towards the end you said something to the effect of even
Fox, you are worth millions and millions of dollars. Why did you not turn on a mic or even mic this person up? Why does it sound like it's on a leftist stream?
Mother Teresa couldn't be acquitted in this venue. Was there a moment in the trial that you felt like it turned, or you saw that it was headed in a certain direction?
Well, when you object to something, your lawyers object. Good lawyers, professional lawyers, good records.
Good lawyers.
Nice people. You know, I've had a lot of lawyers that weren't nice. And sometimes you're better off that way. These are
it's the cheap uncle we all have.
Yeah, people. They'd object. Not accepted. Not accepted. Not accepted. When the government, meaning the DA, Bragg, when he said something, all right, good, that's fine. Go on, more. But
I think you're describing your lawyers not performing well. That's, yeah. And like, man, no one's gone through more lawyers than Donald Trump. The man just fucking... He just works through them. There's like a rotating carousel of people who like they'll be hired by him, they'll take him on, and then they're like, yeah, I can't do this. This guy's ridiculous. He's got like 12 gag orders in a row.
The main thing is this.
Philip Schwartz, thank you for the $2. Trump is an expert at weaseling out of stuff. It's true.
This was
the
turned
guy
down
knows
by
how.
the Southern District. This is over years. This could have been brought 7 years ago. You know, they tried to rush it because they wanted it before the election. But this could have been brought 7 years ago, but they didn't have any intention. A case like this has never been brought before. And there's never been a case where a state has gone after a federal election. In other words, that's for a federal. That's for like the Southern District to go. Southern District turned it down. We got clearance from the FEC, Federal Election Commission.
I believe this is one of the least bad ththings he's actually done, and that's why they went after him first for this. Yeah, I mean, again, this in the list of like upcoming legal battles that Trump has, it was, in my opinion, the least potentially damaging.
Clearance. They're suing, saying we violated a thing, but they gave us clearance. But the charge was written. I mean, it was like a weird charge. You'd have a little of this, a little of that, do a little of this, throw a little, mix it up. You
set the arraignment date.
Oh, none of you got mics. That's too bad. I guess that's fine because you barely speak. Like, you're all just props. You don't need to be here. Just letting Trump fucking uninterrupted speak the entire interview.
4 days before the RNC.
Yeah, well, that's part of the game.
It is. Some have suggested you could appeal straight to the Supreme Court because of the special nature of this case. When it comes to the legal maze that you're still facing. And the judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail.
It
How
could.
do you face what that could look
I'm okay with it. I saw one of my lawyers the other day on television saying, oh, no, you don't want to do that to the president. I said, you don't beg for anything. You just, the way it is. Think of it. They have all my books. You know, they went to, for 5 years, they sued me getting my tax returns, right? At the end of 5 years, they got them. The Supreme Court actually gave it to them. That was the end of it. That was it. They never found anything. They hired the best accounting firms. I had a pure gold firm. They call it a gold-rated firm. I don't know. It's supposed to be. That could happen. I don't know that the public would stand it. You know, I'm not sure the public would stand for it. With a.
You're saying if they tried house arrest or.
This is again the part of this where it's just like, fuck you, you fucking coward. Like, take any kind of accountability for your own actions. You're willing to throw, and we're talking, you know, potentially millions of people's lives into disarray over your own fucking actions. And like, yeah, I mean, hey, if Americans get pissed off that, you know, this corrupt government of Joe Brandon is basically trying to do a political assassination in a lot of ways, and they want to take up arms and commit acts of violence, and they, I don't know, maybe cause like a January 6th style revolution on a much larger scale. I mean, that's just what might happen. I'm not saying that I want that to happen or that I'm telling people to go do that and you should probably go buy a gun and get some bullets, obviously, but like, just saying, you know, who knows what could happen.
I think it would be tough for the public to take. You know, at a certain point, there's a breaking point.
People ask you, why do you do this? How can you do this? I mean, not to mention the rally after rally, the energy. But maybe the question isn't how do you do this over and over, but how does your family do this? All the obstacles, you know, these are things you care about, your ambitions for the country. What about everybody around you?
So I think in many ways it's tougher on them than it is on me. They're good people, all of them, everyone. I have a wonderful wife who has to listen to this stuff all the time. They do that for this reason.
Well, yeah, I guess, was that one of the reasons why you did this in the first place? To try and not have that be an issue? I mean, this one backfired pretty fucking royally. It's funny, you watch some, like, I don't know if anyone's seen that new movie Ferrari with Michael Mann, and then you can tell that like Ferrari had a clear, open understanding with his wife where it's like, we both have the company, we both have a lot of the money and the assets, and she controls all the finances, but she knows that like I can't control my dick. So essentially what's happening here is that like she allows me to have my affairs, blah blah blah, but if I have children with other women, they can't have the Ferrari name, and like I'm basically not able to not be there for the morning coffee because we've got to put on appearances, but like we have an understanding. So I don't know if that's what Trump has or he's got anything close to that or something into that range, but like, yeah, I think if you didn't want, like, you know, to hurt Melania with the news of you having sex with Stormy Daniels, maybe just don't have sex with Stormy Daniels.
They do that, all these salacious names that they put in of these people, and I'm not even allowed to defend myself because of a gag order. Think of it. But they put this stuff in to create havoc. These are bad people. I know everything they're doing. I know every move they make. I get it. But a lot of people don't. But it's tougher. I think it's probably, in many ways, it's tougher on my family than it is on me. You know,
How's Melania doing with it?
she's fine, but I think it's very hard for her. I mean, she's fine. But it's, you know, she has to read all this crap.
What about Barron? People started to focus on Barron recently.
He's amazing, actually, in a certain way. You know, he's tall, good-looking guy. He's a very good student, and he's applied to colleges and gets into everywhere he goes. You know, he's very sought after from the
I wonder why that is.
standpoint. He's a very smart guy. He's a very tall guy, but he's
Twice. He knows nothing about him. How would you describe your own son, sir? Tall. Yeah, very tall. You know, 6'2", 6'2", 6'3", 6'2". Very smart. Tall. Yeah.
And he's a great kid. He's cool. He's pretty cool, I'll tell you.
He's cool.
You know, it's very interesting, though. Colleges.
Trump's like, I can't wait to meet him.
You know, 6 months ago, you look at a college and you sort of want a certain college, and then you see all of these colleges are rioting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe you want to go to a different kind of a college, because there's plenty of colleges that we also like that meant for woke. I would fire them. You can't have woke military.
Again, what does any of this mean?
You said it's so great. You know, you need people that want to win.
The U.S. military, like on an unprecedented scale, is just consistently causing human suffering on a global basis, to further their imperial ambitions for, the large benefit of both the American empire, but also corporations. That's what's happening on a regular basis. That's the U.S. military. That definitionally cannot be woke. There's even if you have like, hey, guess what? We're nicer to queers in the military now. Cool. Yeah. And we also promote, minorities, people of color to senior positions now. So that, also happening. Yeah. Great. Even if you say like an arms manufacturer suddenly has a woman as the CEO and they promoted a lot of people, and they don't discriminate against homosexuals. It's like, yeah, but you're still a fucking arms manufacturer. By definition, none of this can be woke. It can't. It's impossible for an arms manufacturer or the U.S. military to be woke and or not woke.
They want
to support like every other time they indicted him.
Same thing. It's very scary. Very scary. We're in a third world country right now. I don't even feel like we live in the United States. It can happen to him. It can happen to any of us.
I mean, depending on how you define that kind of stuff, like in some ways, yeah, I know Americans love to shit on other countries. Like, this is a shithole country. This is a fucking third world country. This is a poor ass country, broke ass country, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, maybe look towards like, what are your percentages for child mortality? What are your percentages for children with food insecurity? What are your percentages for people who can't afford healthcare? What are your percentages for, the education system and the public education system and the ability for people to actually make it within that system? Is that difficult? Because I know it's advertised as the land of the free, but there's also like this mass movement of people who have also wanted to leave the United States because of all the reasons I was just listing.
Concussion in Texas. I don't think Houston. I don't think Texans are going.
I'm going to guess
care.
house arrest at most.
Trump's our guy. Go Trump. Go.
I mean, even house arrest would be pretty huge because at the end of the day, he wouldn't be able to do as many campaign rallies. So there's that. But
red
could be also just nothing. Could be.
I hope.
He's a first-time offender. He's a young man. He's got his whole life ahead of him. At this point, maybe we'll just give him, some community service hours. Maybe he can give some speeches. He could actually, count his rallies as speeches. Something.
If I'm wrong, please let me be wrong.
I think in the fall, during the election cycle, yeah, it might affect my vote. Yes, sir. Just simply, I don't think we need a convict in office.
Okay.
If
First time we've heard this.
Sticks.
The rare moral
Republican.
Republican.
I was still very disappointed. I still thought, maybe there was a chance that Trump was actually innocent and that he hadn't done any of what they said he did. Now, again, I don't support Trump anymore, but I also didn't want a convict running for president. So, it definitely did put things into perspective for me. And as I said, I'm open-minded, but the two major candidates we have are, just, to me, probably some of the worst in American history.
I mean, on this we agree. It is fucking terribly depressing how bad it is.
But he...
Howdy, everybody. I just wanted to let you know that for the cost of a cup of coffee, you can unlock bonus uncensored episodes of Mind Explosions by going to patreon.com/theserfs. Our videos couldn't exist without your support, and all our content is released early to our Patreon subscribers, as well as a ton of extra content you can't get anywhere else. Please like, subscribe, and thumbs up this channel, and if you're feeling extra perky, share it anywhere you think people would like to see or learn from our videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We first want to give a shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. This program is produced thanks to the generous support of our Patreon supporters: Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbar Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multi Mondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Bomey, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Travis McClinton, and Words Greenwood, as well as every other person you see on the screen right now. This show would not be possible without them. And if you want to join these wonderful people who make this entire program possible, simply go to patreon.com/theserfs and you can unlock uncensored and bonus episodes and, help us exist.